Hey everyone, it's Andrew from the Coaster101 podcast, and I want to talk to you about our podcast sponsor, Zencastr. Since we created the Coaster101 podcast all the way back in 2020, we've utilized Zencastr for most of our recordings. Mainly because the Coaster101 team is so spread out, it makes it so easy for us to record a high quality, at least in audio, that is, podcast. We're able to record studio quality sound, and if we were ever to go with video, we could record in 4K. With Zencastr, our audio is always backed up, even if our connection is a little unstable. Zencastr is an all-in-one podcast platform that's perfect for any podcast, hobbyists like us included. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast all in one place and distribute it to Spotify, Apple, and anywhere else you can get your podcast. Don't believe me? Try it yourself. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use code Coaster101 and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and contact needs, and it's time for you to share your story. That's zencastr.com/pricing and enter code Coaster101 for 30% off your first month. Thanks to Zencastr for making our recording process so easy, and here's this week's episode. Happy New Year, and you are listening to the first episode of the Coaster101 podcast of 2024. I'm Andrew Stillwell, and we've got a full house of Coaster101 team members joining me this week. But first, I'm going to welcome in Mike Martin, one of our Central Florida correspondents. It is his first time on the podcast. Mike, welcome to your debut of the Coaster101 podcast.
Yep, thanks for having me. Been a long time coming, but I think I'm here to stay now.
Hey, that's what we're here for. We love the energy. We love the passion. New year, new you, new podcast. That's a good resolution to have. And I think I'm going to actually make a podcast resolution to not take most of the fall and winter off like we did last year. But that's, real life, man. You got wife and kids and a job, and I've got a house and got married and all this other stuff. Yep. So I get it.
Getting married is kind of an important thing in your life. So.
Just a little bit,
Kind of.
But in addition to Mike, we've also got the more familiar cast of characters. Also down in Florida, we got Shane Joseph. Shane, welcome back. What's up?
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
And last but certainly not least, up in Ohio, we've got Nick Weisenberger. Nick, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Like I said, it is a new year. And as we are recording here on it is the second day of 2024, and I go back to work tomorrow. I've been off for like 2 weeks, which has been really nice. It's been a really good reset. But, I figured there was no better way to kind of start off 2024 than by kicking off and just mentioning, covering, highlighting anything that's happening in 2024 in the amusement industry. Obviously, we are a roller coaster podcast, so we're going to be pretty heavy on the new roller coasters, mostly in the United States, but we're going to go with some international highlights as well. But there are a good number of roller coasters opening this year across the country and across the world. But I want to start, before we kind of dig into the really like new for 24 coasters. There are some coasters that are supposed to open this year that we've known about for, in some cases, 3, in some cases 4. I feel like, I don't know. There's some coasters that are allegedly are finally going to open in 2024. And I'm going to start by talking about the American Triple Loop in Indiana Beach, or at Indiana Beach. And this is that coaster that was relocated from that park in Mexico. I think it had an accident history and things, and I know Indiana Beach has been working nonstop. I feel like it was, originally supposed to open 2022, 2021, something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
And it is a Schwarzkopf, and somebody feel free to jump in first here. Are you guys excited about the Schwarzkopf opening in 2024? I mean, it is not new at this point. It is kind of a transported coaster. But do you think American Triple Looping will be worth the wait?
I mean, I love Schwarzkopf coasters. Like I was scared to get on it at first, but now going back to the youth fair, Daytona Youth Fair where I grew up, we had the doppel looping, which is the two looping course off, and didn't know it was actually a classic coaster. It's like, oh, that's just double looper. Everybody gets on that. It's okay. And then found out how good those rides were and how classic they were. I went on what was it, Mindbenders one, and then also what's the one in Six Flags Over Texas?
Shockwave.
Shockwave. Yeah, they're all good. So I would be excited for it, especially is it a triple looper?
It is, yeah. And
Yeah,
I
so
know
triple looping Swartz off. As long as it's in good condition, which I would hope it would be, I would be excited for it. Just
they
classic ride to have in your back
they've
pocket.
certainly had enough time to make sure it's in good working condition. I think they were testing it late at the end of the season last year, kind of making sure it was operational. But yeah, I think it's a good complement to Indiana Beach's like wooden coasters
Yeah,
and obviously something like Steel Hog and the Tiger Tigger or whatever it's called, that kind of the jumbo jet type coaster they've got there. So Nick, Shane, what do you guys think about the triple looper? Are you gonna make a journey to Indiana to ride it? Maybe Nick, since you're a little bit closer.
Yeah, I'm the closest one, but this time I was not planning a special trip just to go out there and ride it, just given its accident history. But it was exciting to see that they did finally test it, and it looks like they've with the trains they were using like 3 lead cars instead of like I think that was kind of the fix for the accident, because I think the cars that derailed were some of the trailing cars that only had one axle, and I think all the lead cars have more wheel assemblies or something like that. So I think that was one countermeasure for the safety concerns. But you assume it's going to go through a lot of testing to make sure it's good to go before they open it to the public.
And yeah, I don't know anything about the. I feel like the U.S. safety regulations. I don't really know anything about Mexico safety regulations, but I feel like there's a lot more roller coasters, and I know these are. It's like a state by state basis thing. So presumably, this thing, the triple looper, will go through a lot of testing, and Indiana Beach will finally, after 2, 3, 4 years, however long it's been. I feel like it's been sitting in their parking lot since we visited in like 2019, but I know that's not accurate. Um, so I'm glad they're finally getting it. Shane, any final thoughts before we keep moving?
No, not really. I It's always good, I guess, to see a coaster relocated instead of scrapped. And I guess like everybody else said, if they can make sure it works properly, then I think that'll be pretty exciting for them.
Nice. Well, and we're talking about switching from a coaster that has been at a park just kind of disassembled for a while. There's another park that's not really open yet. I feel like it's been threatening to open for years at this point. And I feel like Palindrome at Codaland, along with Circuit Breaker, kind of the tilt coaster. Palindrome obviously is that Gerstlauer Infinity coaster. Another one I think was scheduled to open in 2022. Allegedly will open sometime in 2024 with the rest of Codaland. Um, Having ridden my first Gerstlauer Infinity coaster earlier this year at Monster at Adventureland, I am really, really excited for this kind of coaster. I don't really know when I will ever get to Austin to Circuit of the Americas unless my job sends me there. But Nick, I will start with you this time. Do you have any thoughts on Palindrome and or Circuit Breaker, and will they open in 2024?
Yeah, the last I heard on social media is that Palindrome was going vertical, so I think there is good hope for that one. And the circuit breaker track is on site. I did see some of those pictures on social media, but I'm still unsure if that one will actually open this year or not. But of the two, I think I would be more excited about the tilt coaster because it's so unique. We haven't seen really anything like that here in the United States.
It's true. Mike, what about you? Are any of the three of you guys are F1? Are you F1 people?
F1.
No.
No. No. Okay. Well, this is I know Coda hosts kind of like an F1 race, the kind of the Texas Grand Prix. But yeah, I'm very excited to kind of see this open. And in my day job, we work a lot in motorsport,
Yeah.
and NASCAR has a race at Coda as well. And I've got a buddy. who is a coworker of mine who was at the Coda Rave last year and was like sending me pictures of the palindrome track. And this is still just, again, I feel like years in the making, for palindrome specifically, but also circuit breaker. I'm really excited, um, again, to get these open. I really hope that I've heard it's permitting with the city of Austin because there's never been anything kind of like this scale as far as amusement parks are related. And so they don't really know what they're doing or how the permitting is working, like from a government perspective. So I hope the government gets their act together. But I know, Ride Entertainment is kind of the arm for Gerstlauer in the US. And I know they can build a coaster pretty quickly. So I'm just hoping we get to see it at some point before the end of this year. Um,
Yeah, that's what Chris Robery told me at Epcot. At Epcot, sorry, at IAPA. I got Disney on the brain. Chris Robery told me that Palindrome, it's starting. It's going up. It's going up soon.
okay. Well,
Circuit Breaker, I don't know. I mean, the track is there.
right.
So hopefully when one starts to go up, especially if it's a permitting thing, I mean, if they can start putting up one, I don't see why both of them wouldn't go.
Yeah, it's Texas too, so it's not like they got winter weather or anything like that. They can get it up.
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
Shane, if Chris says it, it's got to be gospel at this point, and
That's true.
we've got to get him on the podcast. I
Yeah,
feel
he
like
said he said he's interested. He wants to come on.
it's one of those things. I feel like for years I'm just going to be kind of DMing Chris back and forth. It's like, hey, come talk about Ride Entertainment. Come talk about the National Roller Coaster Museum. So, Chris, if you're listening,
Yeah.
hit the DMs. You're again, new year, new podcast, and we're going to keep this train rolling. And speaking of keeping trains rolling, specifically on this bright orange track that we saw at IAPA, we're going to get the Mattel Adventure Park. Again, another park that has been years and years kind of delayed in the Phoenix area. And they've got the Twin Mill Racer, which is the Chance Rides, the GTX Hypercoaster. It's the first one with an inversion. They've also got the Hot Wheels Bone Shaker, which I think is a more of a family coaster from Chance. But these two coasters, if the trains if the coasters are half as good as the trains look, I feel like Mattel Adventure Park is going to quickly become a destination park for
Yep.
coaster
Agreed.
enthusiasts. I mean, I know Arizona has like Castles and Coasters that has like these two old like Morgan coasters or whatever they happen to be. But Nick and Mike specifically, you guys have, younger kids who kind of meet this Hot Wheels and Barbie demographic a little bit. Are you excited that we're going to get kind of like a family focused park in the Phoenix Metro, even though it's not really close to any of the four of us?
Well, I mean, I always look for an excuse to go to Phoenix. I have an older cousin that lives there, so I've been there once. But I know there's not many amusement parks over there, so having a park like that, it would probably be pretty popular, especially people going to what are some of the Joshua Tree Park and all that stuff over there in that area. So a lot of family trips over there that I know people are taking. So they have a theme park over there would be pretty cool as well. So I know I would put it on my destination. I got kind of that. Nickelodeon, I want to take my kids to, and of course, Mall of America in Minnesota. Probably got that in the next 2-3 years. We'll take those trips. So I would add
Nice.
Phoenix to that list as well.
Nice. Nick, what about you? Is
Yep.
Nora Coaster101 podcast legend Nora? Is she at the Barbie age where the Barbie dream house where Henry could ride the Hot Wheels coasters, but Nick could do the Barbie dream house at the Mattel Adventure Park?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say those two themes are right up our alley. Nora dressed up as a Barbie for Halloween for trick or treat. So yeah,
Nice.
she loves the Barbies, and Henry loves building the Hot Wheels track. So the theming is just right up our alley.
I love it. Yeah, and again, the trains, because they had the Twin Mill Racer, and Shane, when you were on the podcast last, when you and I kind of recapped IAPA, that was one train to me that really just kind of stuck out. The level of detail,
Oh, definitely.
but also just that iconic Hot Wheels track orange that
Yeah.
everybody grew up playing with is the same coaster or same color as this roller coaster track. I really think if it opens, I think it's kind of going to be a sleeper hit, just assuming people get out to Arizona to ride it. And I mean, Phoenix it's a huge metro. It's I think one of the biggest. Either Phoenix or Houston is kind of the biggest metro in the U.S. without a major theme park. There are a lot of people, and I'm hoping again they've got the construction camera on the website. 2024. It is a long year. It is a leap year, so they have 363.
6.
Yeah, 364 more days this year
Okay.
to get it open this year. Um, so I hope these come to fruition. I think you can see most of the Bone Shaker coaster at the on the webcam. I haven't really seen much of Twin Mill Racer, but it could just be a different angle thing. Um, but yeah, I think these are very exciting. And last but not least, another coaster that's been announced years in the making. Shane, we'll start with you on this one because you got to see the trains up close and personal at the IAPA Expo. Falcons Flight at Six Flags Qiddiya City or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
They're building it. It's being built.
It's real. I mean, we see new pictures of it every week. Not official pictures, I don't think, but still, it's huge, and it looks like it's pretty close to being done. I mean, it's a massive layout, obviously, but from what we're seeing, it looks like it's well on its way. I guess we could add all the Qiddiya City coasters to this list too, because their tilt coaster, Iron Rattler, is I think pretty much built too.
Mhm.
They have Colossus, that's GCI.
Yep.
I don't know if it's a Titan track or if it's a Woody. I think it's a Woody, but that's also being constructed as well. So it's a lot to get done for 2024, but I think at the pace they're working now, they could do it.
Okay. You say so. Did Nick, Mike, did you guys see this POV from IAPA back in November?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I was like sitting there just watching a 7-minute YouTube video and just kind of vibing and while riding a coaster. And it's just kind of meanders through that upper section. And then you hit the launch and you hit that giant, 400-foot tall camelback hill. It's the most absurd thing I've ever seen
Yeah,
in
I
my
think it's like
life.
500 something.
500
It's huge.
It's ridiculous.
Of
So
course, yeah. Watching that video, I have a friend that works at Universal that she's like a cost estimator engineer, and I'm just looking at the POV. I'm like, how much is this going to cost to build?
Also,
How
the
much
most
material are they
expensive roller
using?
coaster ever built,
How
probably.
much is it going to cost to
Yeah.
maintain? But it looks awesome.
it does.
If money is no
Yeah.
object on Roller Coaster Tycoon, I would make this coaster. So based on what
Yeah,
you're doing.
it's one of those I'll
I-
probably never ever ride it, but it's going to be fun to watch it come together because there's lots of engineering challenges to see how it works out.
Yes. So I feel like money, Mike, like you said, money. I don't think is any object over there
Yep.
because they're paying golfers like $600 million a year to play golf. So it is what it is. But we've made it through the coasters that are years and years in the making. We're gonna get to some brand new coasters, and this is kind of in that same vein. Obviously, Top Thrill Dragster sat dormant on 2023, but it has been reimagined for 2024. The track is complete. They're doing they have done test runs. Top Thrill 2. Nick, as the resident Ohioan, I don't know. What do you guys call yourselves, people from Ohio?
Ohioan?
Sure. As the
Buckeyes?
resident as the I like that. As the resident Buckeye on the panel here, how excited are you that Cedar Point is getting this again? I think the world's fastest multi-launch coaster, the fastest backwards launch, the tallest multi-launch. There's a lot of EST superlatives here. How excited are you for Top Thrill 2 at Cedar Point?
Oh, super excited. I think it's awesome. I can't wait to see those trains going over that 420-foot top hat again. You're basically going from like one experience to kind of three with like the rollback and then the new 420-foot tower and then the forward launch again. And so like I think one thing they kind of undersold about the ride is the amount of time that you're going to be spending going over 100 miles per hour. Because the original Top Thrill was like a 20-second long ride. So you probably spent like less than 5 seconds going over 100 miles per hour. But now like that whole backwards launch, it's almost going to be 100. But then that entire distance from the back tower to the front tower is going to be over 100. Then you'll hit over 100 again on the way down. So like the amount of time that you're going to be spending going over 100 miles per hour is going to be way more than the original ride.
And I know they didn't do it for us, but that backwards launch at 101 miles per hour, I'm just going to call it the Coaster 101 launch.
Yes.
But I want to ask the Mike, you've been to Cedar Point. You read the original, correct?
Yep.
Shane, you never rode the original. Okay.
I've never been to Cedar Point.
Okay, well, we're gonna fix that at some point, Shane.
For 2024.
Yeah, this year.
Get Shane to
This summer,
Sandusky.
this summer I'm making a trip.
Hashtag get Shane to Sandusky.
Yes, please.
Okay, so Nick and Mike, I'm going to focus on you guys for this question because I never rode the original either, and so for me, regardless, as a credit counting coaster nerd, it is a new credit for me. Nick, will Top Thrill 2 be a new credit for you?
Yes. I think the experience is different enough that it's going to be count as a new coaster credit.
Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yes, new track, new experience. It is a new coaster.
Perfect.
It's pretty much like they're using the existing track, but they're adding so much more to it that it makes it a completely different ride.
I love it. And it's got those Zamperla lightning trains, which I'm hoping are a little bit more forgiving in the I have lost a little bit of weight. I'm feeling better and being healthy. And again, New Year, health, wellness, all these New Year's resolutions. I'm hoping I can get up with Shane, or maybe not with Shane, but at some point this year, and finally crest that 420 foot tall top hat.
Yep.
I've been to Cedar Point twice, and both times I fell victim to the short belts at Top Thrill Dragster and Millennium Force and Wicked Twister and all these other coasters. So,
well, Shane, you saw the cars in person, right? They didn't have any belts on them on the floor.
Correct. Yep. Adam Sandy says no seat belts on Top Thrill 2.
See, this is great news already. Look at this year, starting off with a bang.
Yep.
What are the odds? Do you guys think there's any possibility King Ka will also do this?
No.
Because
as
it's getting
much
old
track as
now.
they're using already for that useless camelback or the whatever at the end of it. It's like they didn't have that already to maintain.
Yeah.
If they do, I think this time they'll wait and see how this one turns out before making the call.
Right.
Because I think they ordered King Ka before Top Thrill opened. I think if they had maybe waited till it opened and saw all the downtime it had, they maybe wouldn't have ordered it.
I think King Ka, I'm biased because I've ridden that because it has those like Intimidator 305 and Maverick style restraints rather than just the lap bar. And I fit in those, but don't fit in the other ones. Again, these are the problems I have as a fat guy. It's terrible. But I'm hoping, again, these lightning trains, I think they've got just the lap bar, right?
Yeah. It's the kind of Velocicoaster. I don't know. That's what I call it. But
the over the head lap bar.
Yes. No shoulder restraints, but it comes down over your head and the lap bar is attached.
Okay. I'm excited. Again, I feel like this could be probably the most anticipated coaster in 2024, if not in the past several years. I mean, Velocicoaster obviously is an Iron Gwazi or a couple that post-pandemic I feel like were as anticipated, but I think definitely at Cedar Point, I would say this is more anticipated than Steel Vengeance was. And Steel Vengeance, I think a lot of people were really, really excited, and I feel like that level of excitement is continuing for Cedar Point this year. And will probably be surpassed, and it's going to take hours to ride this thing when you finally get to the park for the first time.
Yeah.
But that means shorter waits at Maverick and Steel Vengeance and Millennium Force and all these other things. So just take the good with the bad and don't complain about wait times, please. Okay. As I get off my soapbox, I'm going to go stay in the Cedar Fair family. Before we had our elongated fall and winter break on the podcast, we had Ryan Eldridge from Dorney Park. He came on to talk all things Iron Menace. And I don't know if you guys have been following kind of the menacing moments or menacing minute or whatever their social media series is.
Milliseconds, I think it is.
Yeah, when they take pictures, it's menacing
Yeah.
milliseconds.
Menacing minute.
This
Yeah.
this thing looks so fun. I'm so excited. They've got a dive coaster that's got a backstory with this Hiram McTavish guy and the steel mill, and they had a haunt maze that was centered around the story of the steel mill. So it's all this synergy and storytelling that Cedar Fair has become really, really good at the past couple of years. Mike, what are your thoughts on Iron Menace here? Are you a dive coaster fan?
Oh yeah. Well, here in Orlando, have Shakira there, but yeah, I love them. I didn't get to that trip to Toronto to go to Canada's Wonderland to get on that one, but that's on my list. But yeah, every dive coaster I've liked, I mean, every dive coaster I've been on, I've loved. So
Yeah.
you
So
can never go wrong with a good dive coaster for me.
see, a lot. I feel like it's a polarizing model with a lot of coaster enthusiasts. Either you love them or you hate them, and I'm one. I'm kind of like you. I love them. Griffin is really good. Sheikah's really good. Valve Raven at Cedar Point's another one that's really good. Um, so I think this more compact version. I haven't been on Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego yet, or um, Doctor Diabolical at Fiesta Texas, but kind of this shorter one that doesn't have the turnaround at the top. I mean, you crest that hill and you're going straight down on that 95-degree beyond vertical drop. Somebody on Facebook today was, I think, questioning us was questioning us about is beyond vertical actually a thing, which I work in marketing and I love marketing copy. So even if the math doesn't technically work, I say it's beyond vertical. So
I
I
mean,
love that.
technically, you can go by okay, it's just the negative angle or reverse angle, but you're actually going from horizontal and you're going over 90 degrees of rotation, so that counts as beyond vertical to me.
And you're an engineer by trade.
Yeah,
So I just want to make that clear. On this panel, we have two guys who are engineers. So if they say something can go beyond vertical, it can go beyond vertical. Marketing
That's
copy be
true.
damned. Nick, what about you? Do you have any thoughts on Iron Menace?
I agree with Mike that I've never been on a bad B&M dive coaster. I love them all. So I think this is going to be a fantastic addition to that park. There's no mid-course brake run, so it's going to be a good flow to the ride, just constant element after element. But it's being like a 7 or 8 hour drive. Am I going to get to it this year? Probably not. Like I'm probably not going to make a special trip for it, but I'll definitely looking forward to it on my next visit to Dorney.
Shane, you used to live kind of up in the northeast area. Did you ever make it to Dorney?
I did, yeah. I went once on my way to Hershey Park. I had a great time. I think there's an article somewhere about it. Yeah, I'm super excited. This is a perfect fit, I think, for that park. I really think that if they keep building out Dorney Park, I really think that it could be sort of a Carowinds type park of a little more north. I think all the rides they have there are really like just good quality rides. And I think this is going to be a great addition. Um, I'm also on the dive coaster love camp on this. I think it's really cool that it doesn't have that turnaround. Um, when I was in the Netherlands, I went on their dive coaster there at Efteling, and same thing, heavily themed, kind of a similar layout actually. No mid course brake run, I don't think. And then the dive straight over the top. Um, so
That
if it's anything like that, I think this is going to be a hit.
that's Baron 1898, right?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited. And again, talking to Ryan last fall and kind of seeing everything they're doing on social media, and to the guy who commented on our Facebook page that this is Dorney's first coaster since 2005 and Stinger doesn't count, and why aren't we covering it? We're covering it. That's what we're doing. We don't have people in all 50 states to cover every opening. We're four people who do this as a hobby. I'm sorry if we're not covering it appropriately enough for you, but we're sharing what the park is putting out when they're doing a great job. So Ryan and team over there, keep up the great work. And guy on our Facebook comments, just get off our back. That's all I ask. We're gonna get there. We're talking about it. It's 2024 again, brand new year. We're very excited, and I'm gonna try and get it up to Dorney this year because I haven't been. I haven't been to Dorney since 2016, and as we established, they've taken out more coasters at that point than added, because Stinger is gone, and I rode it, and it was fine. But I haven't been to Dorney since 16. I've never been to Hershey Park. I've never been to Knoebels. I really want to try and make kind of that central eastern Pennsylvania road trip happen this year. So if any
Yeah,
of you
it's
guys
been
want to,
12 years for me because I went to Dorney. When I went to Hershey Park, and I did Dorney. I came around to Six Flags, Great Adventure. But yeah, I definitely need to go back because I still need to go back to Hershey Park and ride all the new rides since they've had since then. I haven't even ridden Sky Rush. So Dorney, anytime I'm in that area, I'll always stop by Dorney, especially since it's right between Six Flags and Hershey Park. So yeah, Facebook guy, I love Dorney. So as soon as I get back, I will certainly toot this horn for you.
we're gonna cover it. Guy on Facebook, I think your name was Michael. So we're gonna talk about you a
Good
little bit
name.
later, but it is a great name. So okay, those are kind of the two to me what I would consider the big roller coasters opening, especially in Cedar Fair. Another kind of big roller coaster. We're going to talk about the first ever Tacoma. What is it? The Super Boomerang, I believe, is the Flash Vertical
Yeah.
Velocity at Six Flags Great Adventure. I admittedly, when this came out, there was like one piece of concept art, and you had to find like the YouTube video of the model in China for anything to make sense. I still don't understand how this thing works. I'm very much mostly in the dark on it. It looks impressive. It looks kind of goofy looking just from the way it's laid out, and you kind of go up this one way and you kind of go down another way. But I still think there's something to be said for a new to the U.S. coaster model opening in 2024. What do you guys think of Flash Vertical Velocity at Six Flags Great Adventure?
Finally, Flash gets its own ride instead of just being Flash Pass. So I think just the theming off of that, I'm excited for. I'm excited for the Flash as a character to actually get something.
I think which was the Cedar Fair, or not Cedar Fair? It might be Cedar Fair. The Cedar Flags, as we're going to call it right now.
Yeah.
Wasn't there Six Flags Park a couple of years ago, Discovery Kingdom or Great America, that took just their V2 and just slapped a Flash logo on it? Wasn't it
I think
Flash?
that
It's
was
called
Discovery
it's
Kingdom.
called the Flash Vertical Velocity.
the same ride. I actually got it confused. I was like, isn't that the Flash that they rethemed? But I was like, oh no, it's the new coaster we're talking about. Six
Yeah.
Flags, and they're naming all the coasters the same thing. But yeah, this is actually a Flash theme coaster that is brand new. It's like I'm excited.
Yeah. So it is very difficult sometimes following this industry, and Wonder Woman Golden Lasso the coaster, or Wonder Woman Lasso of Truth, the giant frisbee. It's the same name, totally different ride. And then there's
Yep.
no
I mean,
matter what.
just the name Goliath.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to
Yeah.
say, Goliath is like 6 different things right now. So, but Shane, what do you think about old Flash Vertical Velocity here coming to up in New Jersey? Again, somewhat your old stomping grounds.
Yeah, I've been to Great Adventure a few times. The park is great, and again, like Dorney, I think this is exactly what they needed. Like a lot of people, I think I was kind of hoping for an East Coast Racers when they were talking about getting a launch coaster, but like you said, it's a brand new model for the U.S., so I think that is also super exciting. And they also have a great lineup there too. They just had Jersey Devil open a few years ago, so I think it's cool that they're kind of experimenting with some newer models. And from that one POV in China, I think this looks great.
There you go.
I do
Yeah.
want to add, like,
Go ahead.
if this is anything like Mr. Freeze, Reverse Blast, like I love that ride. So if it's anything near that, then I think it'll be a good ride.
Great.
Yeah, the coaster itself, I think, looks awesome. Like the layout looks really good and thrilling and lots of unique elements. But I still question if this was the right park to put it in, because that's what I think some other coaster enthusiast concerns was what's the capacity of this ride's going to be, since it is a shuttle boomerang
Yeah.
coaster with only one train. That is the big question for me.
Well, we're gonna have to see. And I mean, I feel like a park like Great Adventure, they've got, what is it now, 14 or 15 other coasters that they can
It's a
kind
lot.
of churn guests to. So I don't know if the capacity thing is I mean, it'll be a big concern in year one because everybody will want to go and ride the new hotness. But even the Joker coasters, like those are not great capacity at the Six Flags parks. Those S&S 40 free spins. But now when you go to them, the lines are nowhere near where they were that opening year. So, people have figured it out. And I think it'll be the same with vertical velocity or flash vertical velocity. Flash colon vertical velocity. I don't know. However they're branding it. And it is not the Six Flags Discovery Kingdom version. Just totally different. But as Vekoma is also making super boomerangs, we are also getting the U.S. debut of their family boomerang model, and there's a bunch of these opening around the world. I was kind of figuring out today, but we're going to talk about potentially the best coaster name and the most adorable trains all at the same time. Holiday World's Good Gravy. This, I think, they dropped their announcement the same day as Top Thrill 2, and I feel like they beat the everyone was joking how their announcement was almost as exciting, if not more exciting, than Top Thrill 2. And then the trains were unveiled at IAPA, and the Top Thrill Dragster or Top Thrill 2 trains were the coolest thing anybody had ever seen until they got to Holiday World's booth or Vekoma's booth and saw the gravy train with the handle on the back, the amazing theming. And the track work on this is done. They built this thing. It took them like 45 minutes. It was like a Connect set. It was crazy how fast this thing went up. And I know they're still working on some of the theming. Um, I, for one, again, I'm not the other than being a coaster enthusiast, I'm not the target demographic for a family boomerang coaster. But I am very excited that this model is coming. I think Holiday World is having a lot of fun with it. There's another one opening at Kings Island, Snoopy Soapbox Racers. I think they have a similar, if not the same, layout. Um, but I think this kind of family coaster renaissance that we're in the United States right now, where not everything has to be the tallest, fastest, biggest, baddest coaster. I think it is a great investment for a park like Holiday World and also for Kings Island to kind of bring these family coasters and kind of create like a little bit more of a stepping stone between something like a Great Pumpkin Coaster or I don't even know what Holiday World's Kitty Coasters was named, like
The
Holodog,
Howler.
the Howler. Yeah. So like there needs to be a stepping stone in between these kitty coasters and then like your next best thing. And
Exactly.
I think Good Gravy and Snoopy Soapbox Racers both are going to accomplish this in their local markets. And Nick, I know you're a semi local to Kings Island. I don't know Ohio geography. Again, I didn't even know what you guys called the people who lived in your state. But are we gonna?
Jerks. No,
No, no, no, no,
this is
nope.
Floridian speaking.
Stop fighting. Nick, are we gonna get Henry and Nora out to either Holiday World or Kings Island this year?
Oh, definitely. Planning on visiting both parks this summer for sure. But yeah, I agree what you said. I think Holiday World needed this ride. Like you could argue on the type of coaster, but I think everyone would agree they definitely needed a ride with a lower height requirement because the Zamperla Kitty coaster they have, the Howler, is 36 minimum height requirement, and then you go up to the Raven wooden coaster is 48. So you had nothing in between there. So like you said, you like to see different steps. So it's nice to have another coaster in between there. And the one for Kings Island, I was very surprised by that announcement because I don't think they really needed that as much as Holiday World desperately needed theirs because they have a lot more family coasters and a lot more rides that the whole family can do together. But it's good to see that the kid area of Kings Island, which is already praised by everyone, getting even better than it already is.
They're coming for that golden ticket. I know they're with Dollywood winning it the last couple of years for Wildwood Grove. I think Kings Island they're on the hunt to get that back. And yeah, I mean their kids area they've got Flying Ace, they've got Woodstock Express, the wooden coaster. Do they have like and they've got Great Pumpkin Coaster, right?
Yeah,
The little.
they've got 3 in just that kids area, but then you also think about like Adventure Express and the Bat
Mhm.
and the Backlot Stunt Coaster, which are all good family coasters.
Yeah.
I agree. Shane, what do you think here about family coasters? Again, you're kind of you don't have any kids, but what do you think about the family coaster, kind of the resurgence of the family coaster that we're kind of seeing at especially with these Vekoma family boomerangs?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think that obviously we like for every park to have like the craziest, tallest, fastest coasters. Um, but the reality is they have to have more than that if they're going to market to families. And I think that the fact that they're not just putting in a wild mouse at every park, um, just to kind of fill that family coaster slot, and that they're actually these parks now are trying to build an actual quality ride. I think it's also going to lead to more coaster enthusiasts in the future, because their families are now going to be introducing kids to, um, whether it's like themed coasters or shuttle coasters, coasters that go backwards, sort of more than just the traditional, um, figure eight coaster or something like that. So I think it's great.
Nice. Okay. I think we've touched on the family boomerang. We can only talk about them so much. I feel like not. I mean, let's talk. We're not going to talk about family or Good Gravy's train. We've already done that. It's beautiful. It's glorious. It's best coaster train I've ever seen. But another roller coaster that is opening next year with really cool trains. Actually, um, Nick, you were there for the announcement up at Silver Dollar City in Branson. Fire in the Hole 2.0. They've just closed Fire in the Hole, the original, kind of the OG. They had their last rides over, I believe it was New Year's Eve or the day before. But we're getting a all new, the first ever indoor RMC. But RMC's kind of first ever family coaster. Nick, when you were at the Fire in the Hole announcement, I felt like the energy in that room was really, really impressive for an indoor family coaster. Do you agree?
Yeah, because I don't think we got a chance to talk about this on the podcast before, but yeah, that announcement was crazy. It was one of the biggest like events that I've ever been to in person at a theme park. The amount of stuff that they put into it, it was just live music and actors and all kinds of stuff. Like they pulled out all the stops for that announcement. It was awesome to be there.
Yeah, they had the bluegrass band. They had, I think, Casey and the Attaboys. They performed at IAPA as well, kind of for
Yeah, it
the
was awesome.
announcement. You
Everybody
know,
got a free piece of cinnamon bread to take home.
oh
Oh,
man,
they couldn't have brought that to IAPA? Come on.
I think sometime in 2024, I've reached out to Joey and Dalton over in their PR department, and they seem game to come on the podcast. So maybe they can bring cinnamon bread to the Coaster 101 podcast. I don't
That
know.
would be great.
That'd be good. I'm
Well,
excited. This is another one. I think all of the track work is currently done.
yeah, when I was
And
there, that was another part of the announcement. Is back in August, we got to after the announcement itself, members of the media got to go and actually tour the construction site and go inside the building and climb up some of the stairs and look at the different levels. And yeah, I think at that time the track was like 99% done, and they had already started on working on some of the buildings and the theme sets inside.
nice. And this is, I feel like, probably a little similar to Blazing Fury at Dollywood. Kind of
It's
similar.
pretty much the same ride. I,
Okay,
I don't know if it's exactly the same, but I riding both of them this year, it's pretty much the same ride.
got it. So I'm excited to kind of see what the story of the new Fire in the Hole with Red Flanders, what Silver Dollar City is able to come up with this, brand new, taking a what was it, 50-year-old ride and
A
putting.
ride that they loved because the one time I went there, this little girl could not stop talking about Fire in the Hole and its history, and she told me exactly what was going to happen, and she was so excited. And I think it'll keep that fever going over as far as a local ride that everybody loves.
Oh
I
yes,
love it.
I think Silver Dollar City in general has, I think, some of the most passionate fans out there,
Yep.
and they definitely love their Fire in the Hole.
I feel like that's, when you announced you were retiring it, the spiritual successor to the ride, the fact that it is also fire in the hole, I think tells you everything you need to know about the staying power of, how it's a generational thing. Grandparents took their kids on it, their kids took their kids on it, and it's just all these generations have ridden fire in the hole at Silver Dollar City, and now RMC, the good folks over there at Rocky Mountain Construction, are bringing it to a new generation with a new life, and very, very excited for that.
Yeah, and it was a bit weird being at the announcement because they pull out all the stops to announce a ride that already exists and you can ride right now. It was a little strange.
You know what? It's theme park. It's theme park math. When you go to Epcot, everyone's like, "I want to ride the Figment ride," and then they get on it and they're like, "That's not the Figment ride." So, up at Six Flags Great Escape, we've got Bobcat. I know this is another one of these. It's a Gravity Group kind of family wooden coaster along the same lines as Kentucky Flyer or Oscar's Wacky Taxi. I've yet to ride one of these models. I've ridden last Gravity Group coaster I rode, I think, was what is it? Uh, Dynamite of Fun Spot Kissimmee.
Oh, Mind Blower.
Mind blower.
Mind blower. Man, just the brain fart there. That was terrible. But I haven't ridden one of these family coasters. Nick, Mike, Shane, Shane, you have, because you're, from Connecticut, and Quasi was your home park.
Yeah. I've been on that many times. I think it's a great ride. I've always said that's kind of an underrated, or not necessarily underrated, because it is what it is, and it's great. I mean, like you said, another family coaster. I'm looking through this list now. I feel like pretty much everything that, the past three and the next couple we're going to talk about are also family coasters. But these are the type of family coasters that will also appeal to enthusiasts. Not just because obviously enthusiasts want to get as many credits as possible, but also because these coasters can actually have some, in the case of these, pretty good airtime, and are really smooth. So I think that this is a perfect addition. And I've also been to Great Escape before too, and they desperately need a new coaster. And this is, I think, going to appeal for exactly the type of demographic that they're keeping that park open for.
Yeah. And it's their first new coaster. I just looked it up, in 19 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of people are going to be surprised because when they first announced this coaster, we put some posts up on our Facebook page. And if you go back and look at those, we got like literally hundreds of negative comments.
It blew up. Yeah.
My thought was, wow, there's a lot of people that haven't been on an actual good wood coaster. That seemed to be the main complaint, that it's made of wood. But I think a lot of those people are going to be blown away by the quality of this ride, judging from the other Gravity Group coasters like the Kentucky Flyer.
Yeah, I think, and it's got like kind of the Wildcats Revenge fiberglass looking trains with the Bobcat coming through the front of the train there. And I think, it's a shame we couldn't get Kyle Linder, who's on our team, on this podcast episode to talk about the Bobcat, because he's a proud Ohio University alum, and I know he is very excited for a Bobcat themed coaster.
Yes, my college also, Quinnipiac Bobcats, close to Quasi, so that's where I got those credits. But yeah, I'll be happy to ride this.
Yeah, when we were at Steel Curtain Media Day, Kyle was there with his son, and they had Kenny the Kangaroo and the Kennywood Arrow mascot kind of like just mingling with guests, and his son AJ was like 3 or 4 at the time, and he goes, "Look, a Bobcat and a Minion." I was like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, I have never been up to Great Escape. Mike, you ever been there?
Nope.
Okay. I don't know, again, like Nick said with a couple of these, I don't know if this will get me to Great Escape, but it's nice to know it will be there when and if I finally get up to upstate New York and ride it. But from upstate New York, we're going to head down to Mike's neck of the woods. I know he is a SeaWorld and Busch Gardens pass holder, and so we're going to talk about B&M's foray into the family coaster game with 2 coasters at these parks. Let's start with Penguin Trek. I think the the trains came out, or they were released in IAPA. I think they're really sleek. I think they're everything the Dark Coaster trains should have been, because they have like this snowmobile look to them. Mike, have you been out to SeaWorld Orlando, or Shane? I mean, I know you're down there as well.
Yeah,
Have you
I
guys
go pretty regularly.
have you been out to SeaWorld and seen like the track under construction or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know if I took some pictures. I probably need to post them on our site, but yeah, no, I've been keeping up with it. My son is pretty excited, really, because like you were talking about with family coasters at um, Kings Island and Holiday World. SeaWorld also has that thing where they have a bunch of B&Ms that are 54-inch height requirements, and then they have Icebreaker, which went down to 48, but it's still an intimidating coaster with the beyond vertical drop spike. I mean, so my son's kind of over riding Grover Boxcar Derby. So we go to SeaWorld and he's like, okay, what can I ride? He got on Journey to Atlantis, but he's like, okay, he likes it. He just didn't like the last drop, and plus water. So when it gets a little bit colder here, and then there's Infinity Falls, he gets on that. But then again, when it's colder here, not a lot of people get on it. And then after that, there's nothing else for him to do but just kind of eat. So we've been waiting on a family coaster, something like Penguin Trek, especially since I've been on the other family coasters at the other SeaWorld. So actually, I haven't been on the one in SeaWorld San Diego, but I went on what is it? The jet ski
Wavebreaker?
coaster,
Manta,
Wavebreaker.
right?
Yeah. So I was hoping we would get something similar to that, because that's the main thing that was missing from SeaWorld, especially for that age range, is just a family coaster that they're not intimidated to get on, just something that everybody can get on.
Yeah. I first of all, when you say when Florida gets cold in the winter, how cold are we talking?
Well, cold, uncomfortable to get wet, I would say. So not up north cold, but when it gets, because it's still humid here. So when it's cold and it's still humid here, when you get wet, you can be really uncomfortable. So
Listen, don't let the North Carolinian flex on you on the winter. I just had
yeah.
to make the joke.
When I said that, I was like, I know I'm going to get ragged on this, but I'm just telling you how it is in terms of water rides here.
I grew up in Florida, and the winter coat was on when it was 55 degrees outside. And
I did not bring a winter coat from home. I had to go buy one last week.
It was like 60 degrees here on Christmas Day. It was awesome. It was nice.
Global warming, it's great. It's wonderful. Oh
Yeah.
no, it's terrible. Yeah, I think Shane, what about you? Have you seen the kind of the Penguin track rising?
Yeah, I think it's great. I am super excited that I mean, it seems like pretty consistently. I mean, SeaWorld's getting a coaster every year or every other year. So they are growing big time. And it seems like they're going to grow even more. I know there's been some I don't know if it's been confirmed, but rumors out there about a couple new hotels.
Yeah,
I
think they
they're
confirmed
they're
it.
really okay. They're really building out SeaWorld, and I think that again, this is going to be kind of a middle ground coaster that's not quite as thrilling as Icebreaker, but more thrilling than Grover's Boxcar Derby. And as usual, I love when parks do story and do theming. And it seems like whatever they're doing in that indoor section is going to be adding some sort of story theming elements to this.
And it's got 3,000 feet of track for a family coaster, which to me is really impressive.
That's yeah.
And it's at 3,000 feet of track, it is significantly longer than the trackless dark ride it replaced. So we're
yes.
I don't know what you can say. I mean, there was one of those things that I feel like it had a lot of potential, and then it just kind of fell flat. And I know, SeaWorld San Diego, they had that kind of like above ground dark ride, the submarine.
Oh, the submarine, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple swings and misses, but I do like that SeaWorld's kind of leaning into this coaster capital of Orlando moniker that they've given themselves. And yeah, I love a good B&M. I think Penguin Trek is going to be great. And another one that I think is really going to surprise a lot of people is going to be Phoenix Rising down the road, down I-4 at Busch Gardens, Tampa. And Mike, I'll start again with you. And Nick, I'm going to come back to you. I feel like I've left you alone for a little bit. But Mike, you're a BGT pass member, pass holder, whatever they're calling their people these days. And this is replacing the Sand Serpent, Wild Mouse, Izzy's wild mouse or whatever you want to call this thing that
Cheetah
kind of
Chase,
lives.
Sand Serpent, Izzy's Wild Mouse, whatever they want
It's
to
a,
call it, but it's gone.
so it's the fair wild mouse that lasted too long in a permanent location. But Phoenix Rising is going to kind of take the place here, and it's this. I don't think B&M has really ever done a family invert
Not
before,
that I know of.
so
For invert,
it
yeah, no, they haven't.
yeah.
In
So
China, they have. In
Oh,
the
okay.
U.S., they have not.
Okay, so it's their foray into the family invert in the U.S. And you, Mike, before we were started recording, we were talking about how your son is a little, Braylon he's 9, he's a little bit more cautious. How's he gonna feel? Is he gonna get on the coaster with his feet dangling?
oh yeah, I think he will. We actually have a fun spot pass we need to use, so he needs to get on that coaster there. But as far as an invert, he hasn't been on one yet, but he's a little bit more daring now. He used to be scared of all coasters for a while, so even anything above Grover, he even got scared of Goofy's Barnstormer, which he used to love when he was 3 and 4. Then he got nervous on that, but now he rode Cobra's Curse, and he's like, "This is the greatest thing ever." So now he wants to go back and ride Cheetah Hunt. So I think this will be right up his alley as far as things to do at Busch Gardens. Don't think he wants to do Scorpion yet, but I'll probably just maybe because the inversions kind of make him nervous. But I think this is right there up his alley for him. Probably be one of his favorite rides.
He's too young just to appreciate those classic Schwarzkopfs.
Yeah.
He'll get there. He'll get there one day. What about Nick? What about you? You've got, again, 2 kids, this family, the family invert. Again, we've been talking about family coasters, I feel like, for about half an hour at this point. What do you think about Phoenix Rising and Penguin Trek and B&M's willingness to kind of take a step back from there? Again, the coasters like Orion and Fury 325 and, inverts like Banshee and Alpengeist and Montu. But to kind of build that stepping stone coaster, what do you think about B&M's willingness to kind of get into the family coaster game?
Yeah, from a coaster enthusiast perspective, it's good to see, I think, variety. I like to see lots of different models, different types of rides. But from B&M's perspective, I mean, it's just parks nowadays, they're not building giant roller coasters like they were a couple years ago or pre-pandemic. So they have to pivot and build what the customers want to build, which is smaller, family-friendly rides. So it's pretty much just a good business move on their part.
Love it. And I'm going to wrap with one more family coaster.
Sorry, before you get to that, Andrew.
My bad, Shane. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Do we know if Phoenix Rising is having the swinging trains or not? Because I thought it was, but I haven't heard anything since the announcement.
I have not heard. I've heard, like you said, when it was announced, it would have the swing trains, and then I've seen stuff in the park that's like it's a family invert, doesn't mention the swinging trains. I think it's one of those we will have to see when it opens, presumably in spring-ish.
Yeah, my guess is it will not be swinging. I think that's probably just confusion between using the inverted versus suspended terms. How some people use them interchangeably. For most enthusiasts, inverted is like the fixed cars, and suspended is the swinging cars.
Yeah, so we're for the Joe Q public listener, we're too far in the weeds already. So I gotta go over to the West Coast because Knott's Berry Farm is finally getting a new coaster, but it's not the reimagined Montezuma's Revenge. It's
no Giga either.
No Giga either yet, allegedly. I don't know. Somebody on the internet who claims to be fans of something probably has plans. I don't know. If you Google it, I'm sure you can find it. But they're opening Snoopy's Tender Paw Twister at Knott's. This is a Zamperla lift and launch. It is a Daddy Pig clone that's got like a Snoopy Red Baron type, Snoopy's Doghouse lead car, which I think is pretty cool. It's a great coaster, and I think it replaces whatever their kiddie coaster was called out there. I don't even remember the name. It was some camping themed. I can pull it up on RCDB right now. It was Timberline Twister. So it's a similar name, different coaster, perfect for families. there's not a lot to be said about it other than Zamperla gets another Cedar Fair coaster, which good for them. Adam Sandy's been on this podcast a couple of times, and when he sells a roller coaster, it's probably good for him, which makes good for everybody else. So I'm very excited for that. You guys have anything you want to say about the Tender Paw Twister before I move on to one last U.S. coaster, and then we'll touch on a couple of international and some non-coaster attractions?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay, exactly. We have said everything we need to say about Snoopy's Tender Paw Twister.
Yeah.
And so, last but certainly not least, this is a coaster that I thought got a name, but when I was researching for our topic today, RCDB doesn't have the name listed. But the surf coaster at Six Flags Over Georgia, I believe they had a fan voting thing. I submitted no fewer than 40 names. Georgia Surfer was one of the names I submitted, but I didn't win. So I'm calling shenanigans. But
So the website actually has Ultra Surf.
I was gonna say, I thought it got named.
It's on the website, Ultra Surf.
I could it is
the name.
It is. Oh,
Both.
Who knows? I think it was the model. Yeah. I got to go back to. I'm going to talk about this for a little bit. Can somebody go back to Six Flags Over Georgia's Twitter from like a month ago and see if they picked a name? Because Georgia Surfer was definitely one that I submitted. I didn't win. I'm not upset about it. I promise. I don't think. But yeah, it's the first ever Ultra Surf from Intamin, which is very similar to this Mac Power Splash that we've seen pop up at Six Flags Over Texas with the Aquaman Power Wave. So I'm really surprised they didn't name this Aquaman Power Wave. This has a kind of more of a surfboard style train, almost like the Timmy's half pipe coaster at American Dream. 144 feet tall, 60 mile per hour top speed, just about 600 feet of track, forward backward launches, and a splashdown, 4 interactive water feature moments. So this coaster, it allegedly is going to open at Six Flags Over Georgia in 2024. I don't know if like I said, they had a fan voting. I submitted some really, really great names, but I didn't win. I'm not too upset about it, but
okay, so I can't find anything that says it was named, but I have the 3 finalist names.
Okay, what were the finalists?
Okay, one of them is Georgia Surfer. One of them is Aquaphobia, and the last one, which I have to imagine was submitted as a joke by an enthusiast, but somehow made it, is Iron Splash, the surf coaster.
Well, I will tell you, Iron Splash, the surf coaster, not one of the names I submitted. But
okay.
Aquaphobia and Georgia Surfer were both names that I put down.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Nice. I'm telling you, Six Flags, they've robbed me here. But I took a play on Georgia Scorcher, their stand-up coaster. And I took a play on Aquaphobia because fear of heights, fear of water. I had them both. But
well, I mean, you have a 2/3 chance of winning.
Well, we'll see.
More than that, if it's the third is that Iron Splash or whatever you said.
Listen, as long as it's not Surfy McSurfface, I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
So Georgia, when this opens, it'll be really good for those hot Georgia winners. I feel like Six Flags Over. Hot Georgia Summers. Yikes. Hot Georgia Summers. I'm glad I caught that. But I feel like Six Flags Over Georgia's a park with a lot of blacktop, a lot of heat radiating off that asphalt. And, for them to have a water coaster, probably something they could stand to definitely add to the park. So excited to see this when it finally opens. I think they've still got to get their new for 2023 coaster up and operational. I know they operated it for like 2 weeks, but those the Skyline Attractions coasters, the Biscotti Bowls, I know Fiesta Texas is bringing theirs back up, but we'll get Georgia Surfer or Aquaphobia or Well, Iron Splash, the surf
Iron
coaster.
Iron Splash, the surf coaster.
Put that on a t-shirt. I can't wait. So hopefully 2024 that'll open. And granted, there are a bunch of coasters opening internationally as well next year. I will say the most of the audience of this podcast is American based. I can read the stats, I see it. So I wanted to touch on just a couple of international coasters. I don't know a ton about them. So if you're an international listener or really mad that we're just, stupid American enthusiasts talking about American coasters, I apologize in advance. But Thorpe Park, they've got this rebrand going on, but they've also announced Hyperia, which that's a mock hypercoaster. Is that right? No,
Yeah.
Intamin.
No mock.
Mock or Intamin?
Mock.
Yep. So this thing looks insane. The pictures, I don't think do it justice. It's way taller than literally anything else in the park. Have you guys been following the construction of Hyperia?
Oh yeah. I think at this point, pretty much everyone's seen the picture of that enormous Outer Bank crazy element. I don't know. I'm looking at this list right now. I think the 3 most exciting coasters for 2024 are international.
Okay.
And this, I think this is most likely going to be the best coaster of 2024.
Okay. Well, I'm
That's
sorry we've spent an hour talking about coasters that are not going to be the best in 2024. Nick, Mike, what about you guys? Have you guys been following the Hyperia construction at all?
I have not, but Thorpe Park has always been one of my destination parks to get to. If I ever get to UK, I'm probably going to knock out Thorpe and Alton Towers like in a 1 or 2 day thing. So definitely is one of my bucket lists as far as parks to get to.
I like it. Nick?
Yep, I've been following the construction photos on social media, and yeah, that outward big turn with like the crazy inversion on the way to the ground looks awesome, and it does look a little short for a hypercoaster, but probably one of the most unique layouts of any hypercoaster. So definitely looking forward to it.
Yes. And up in Canada, we've got the recently named, it was announced, I guess, at the end of 2022 that it was happening, was Thunderbolt at P&E Playland up in the western part of Canada, Vancouver maybe. But this was the kind of the initial Zamperla Lightning coaster. It's built, it's ready. It's got this bright yellow track that looks amazing. I don't foresee ever getting to the western part of Canada or Vancouver. I've been proven wrong before. I mean, I ended up in the middle of Iowa this year for an IndyCar race and got to see Ed Sheeran perform the day after visiting Lost Island theme park. So stranger things have happened. I don't know. But I think Thunderbolt is going to be a great get for P&E Playland. Again, one of those Zamperla Lightning coasters. Very excited to see how the LSMs work and how the launches are, kind of integrated with Zamperla. Doesn't really have a ton of LSM coasters. I think these are their first 2, Top Thrill and Thunderbolt, and everything else has been Flywheel in the past. So excited for Thunderbolt. You guys have anything there? I mean, I picked a couple of just international coasters. And Shane, I think when you were talking about the 3, I don't think you were considering Thunderbolt as one of the best 3, right?
No, but I still think it's super exciting. They had the trains at IAAPA 2 years ago, I think. And again, I think that I actually got to sit in the Top Thrill 2 ones this year, so I know how comfortable these Lightning trains are going to be. And I think this is going to be great. I think this could be, if this is successful at P&E Playland, I think this could be great for some of the kind of mid-scale parks in the U.S., like a Dorney or like a Six Flags Over Georgia. So I think this could really catch on.
Love it. Nick, Mike, any thoughts?
It looks good. It's definitely something needed in that Northwest area because does Seattle have any theme parks?
They have Wild Waves, which I don't like talking bad about amusement parks on podcasts because we cover a business that's supposed to be fun and exciting. But bar none, Wild Waves was the worst park I visited in 2023 and might be the worst park I've ever visited.
Yeah, so if that's the case,
I,
then
Yeah,
I
no.
think it's good for
I,
that Northwest
I
area.
yeah, I bought my ticket online and paid to park, and then got there and found out two of the roller coasters, specifically their Wild Mouse and Timberhawk, which is really the main draw of that park, were closed. So I got to ride an Aero Looper and a powered coaster, and I paid
Oh,
$60 to do it, and I was not happy.
wow.
Anyway, we're not going to talk bad about Wild Waves. This is the year of 2024, and we're being positive. But Shane, I want you, since you seem to be up on these things. Mock Rides has another coaster debuting in Europe at Europa Park in Voltron, and this thing looks bananas. So, what can you tell us about Voltron?
Yeah, I mean this thing looks crazy. I remember seeing like the concept, like fan made, like Planet Coaster or No Limits um versions of this when the blueprints got out there, and I remember thinking like, okay, like this is cool, but there's no way it's actually going to be like this. And now that it's fully built, it is actually going to be like that. You have that crazy launch that goes up into the inversion. Like they have I think it's LSMs. They have LSMs basically going halfway up an inversion. And just the theming of the ride too, the way it's built. Obviously, Energyland, I think, is one of the bucket list international parks for a lot of people. Um,
This is
and
Europa
I
Park.
think that say that again.
Say
This is
Europa.
Europa.
Sorry, yes, Europa Park. Well, actually, both of them are.
It's true for both. Yes,
But
Yeah,
definitely.
it's
yes,
still true. I just didn't want to. I don't. We've already lost most of the international people by talking about U.S.
yeah,
U.S. coasters like Snoopy's Tender Paw Twister before getting to Voltron. So
yes, that's true. But yes, I think especially this. I think is also one of those models that Um, I can't explain it. I don't know what makes it like this, but it just feels like a European coaster. And I feel like this is not something that we see in the US a lot. Um, and I think this is just going to blow a lot of people away.
yeah, we don't theme a lot of roller coasters to American-born scientists here in the U.S.
No, not really.
It's a long coaster too, or at least for today's age, being
Yeah, really
4,544
long.
feet long. That's very long for most of the coasters today are like 3,000 feet or less. So it's a
Yeah,
That
lot
and,
of track crammed into a small area.
and 7 inversions too. That's
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 crazy. I,
nuts.
I think, yeah, I cannot wait to see a full POV of this.
We're excited, very excited, and we're going to leave Europe, head over to Asia. And Nick, I want you to talk about this one because way, way back, and like this is, I'm thinking 6 or 7 years ago, you wrote this article about the patent that Universal filed for their boom coaster, their cantilevered coaster. And I think we are finally seeing it come to life with the Donkey Kong Minecart Madness at Universal Studios Japan. Nick, when you think back to that article, did you and have you seen like the testing of this? Did you ever think it would actually come to life as brilliantly as it has?
No, I definitely didn't see this ride being built, and to see it actually like almost open now and see it testing is really awesome to see.
Yeah, I'm. We are allegedly going to get one of these in the United States when Epic Universe opens in 2025. If the helicopter photos from Bioreconstruct are to be believed, I'm sure that's already built and maybe testing at this point. I don't know. Um, but yeah, this is the kind of the boom coaster, as like you're sitting in a mine car, but that is suspended above the um it's suspended above the track, and the coaster wheels are not
Yeah,
actually the track you're on. I'm doing a
yeah,
very
like
terrible job of explaining this.
the real track isn't like below you; it's kind of rotated 90 degrees and off to the side, and then there's like a fake track directly underneath the mine cart that you're sitting in. So that way, like there can be breaks or areas where like the mine track looks like it's all torn up, but the actual track is underneath. So there's going to be some illusions where it looks like you're jumping over things or going through water and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be really interesting to see how well the illusions work, because I think the entire ride kind of hinges on that. Like if you were to take the coaster by itself and put it in a parking lot, it would not be a thrilling coaster at all. But once you add all that theming and the illusions, I think that's going to bring the whole thing together.
Yeah. And I mean, I grew up playing Super Nintendo and Donkey
Yes.
Kong Country. The Minecart Carnage level, it gave young me fits. And I'm looking right now at my SNES Classic and my TV over here. I've yet to pick that game back up, but I might have to do it definitely before Epic Universe opens, and just try to, see what 20 years of video game experience can do for me on this minecart level, because I just remember like first, second grade me, like that age, I was like, I can't do this. It doesn't work.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit older. So when Donkey Kong Country came out, I was in sixth grade. So I was like at my peak gaming at that time. So I still have, when I see pictures of that level, that Minecart Mayhem, with Minecart Madness and Minecart Carnage,
Yep.
you see videos of them like playing on Facebook and stuff, and I can still feel the muscle memory of beating those levels in my fingers. So I think I could easily pick it up and still do the same thing. So seeing this come to fruition as an actual coaster is like my dream come true. So I can't wait. I don't want to spoil myself on the Japan one because I want to kind of be surprised when it gets to Orlando, but I'm also excited about just the engineering behind it.
Yeah. I didn't ride, but I went to Adventureland in Long Island last summer, and they had just opened that rollerball coaster, Fireball up there, and that it's so slow, and presumably this Universal coaster will be a little bit more thrilling than that. But I the sideways track mechanics of how it kind of guided its way through that kind of S-shaped track. I if Universal does this right and does this justice like they've done with everything in the past, time since Hollywood Bride Rocket opened, I feel like that was maybe the last. Oh, Fast and the Furious exists. That was the last miss, but the last like coaster miss. But yeah, I think Universal, they've got a potential home run on their hands, and once Epic Universe opens in 2025, game over. I mean,
I was going to say game over.
I think
no pun intended, but yeah, game
literally.
Forgive the video game pun.
This, I think people are not ready for how good this is going to be. I think this is going to be the Hagrid's of Epic Universe. And I think that the fact that it's opening in Japan first is just going to get people even more hyped. And I cannot wait.
I'm excited. And you know what? I don't know if you guys are planning to go to Japan when this thing opens or just waiting for it to come stateside. I will probably be the latter. But this is one I try to keep my thoughts. I don't watch POVs before I ride coasters. This is one I might have to watch the POV on.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to just because it's going to be here in Orlando. I don't want to be completely spoiled, but I do want to see like what the cars look like and how the track operates. Think this is what I thought Harry Potter was going to be when they first announced Forbidden Harry Potter. What was it called? Forbidden
Gringotts.
Not Gringotts. I'm talking about the Forbidden Journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw the patent for that and saw like it was going to be a coaster or it was going to be, an arm on a coaster track, and then the ride was going to be free. I thought it was going to be something a little bit faster, like more coaster-like. I think this is now that technology that I was waiting on back then, as far as what they'll be able to do with that kind of coaster, as far as having the two tracks and having that be an actual coaster this time. So,
Yeah.
like Shane said, I think it's going to blow people away.
I'm excited. I can't wait. And before we wrap this up, obviously, this is a roller coaster themed podcast. There are some what I'm going to call quote unquote not coasters that are opening 2024 that I feel like are pretty significant additions here. I'm just going to run through them pretty quickly unless these guys wanted to jump on it. SeaWorld San Diego, Catapult Falls is kind of their water. I think they're calling it a water coaster of sorts. I think there's a launch element or something like that. But it is going to open. It was originally supposed to in 2023. It's opening at SeaWorld San Antonio this year, 2024. Down the road from SeaWorld San Antonio at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, they've got this new DC Universe expansion. It's got a Zamperla Nebulas. It's got a monorail. It's kind of got a spinning drop tower. Also in Texas, because everything is bigger in Texas, we've got another Peppa Pig theme park, which means another Daddy Pig roller coaster opening. Over at Universal Studios Florida, we've got the DreamWorks Land, which really I don't know exactly what's going on there. I know they've rethemed the Woody Woodpecker, the Nut House
Not a house
coaster.
coaster. Yep.
It's now going to be called, I believe, the Troller Coaster, which I love that name so much, especially in this internet culture that we live in today. The Troller Coaster is just a phenomenal name. Also, Universal, I don't think it will open in 2024, but they did go vertical fairly recently over at Area 15 for Universal's first full-time horror experience, the kind of Halloween Horror Nights Vegas. That has gone vertical. Not a ton of details that have come out on that. They've also got their kids park in Vegas that is probably several years down the highway as well. Also in Vegas, we've got SpongeBob's Crazy Carnival Ride. We got to see the Mr. Krabs animatronic at IAPA. We got to see images of the SpongeBob themed ride vehicle. Circus Circus is a adventure in and of itself, and I hope this new dark ride from Sally, and Sally, when I say they never miss, they never miss. But I hope this can kind of breathe new life into the Adventure Dome over at Circus Circus, because again, that's a scary, crazy place. And then again, last but certainly not least, Splash Mountain has been closed for an extended period of time, and we're getting Tiana's Bayou Adventure on both coasts. I think they had some renderings and some construction work during the Christmas Day parade on ABC. I didn't happen to tune in, but the internet was not, they were not overwhelmed with the amount of information that came out. I think it was pretty limited, and we'll see what happens with, the Bayou Adventure in 2024. Scheduled to open this year, but we will see if that timeline changes at all. Anything you guys want to touch on those non-coasters? I know we've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes at this point, but let's anything you guys want to touch on real quick?
I don't know. Can't wait for the retheme of Splash Mountain, although I'll miss the Zippity Doo-Dah, and I'll miss the Don't Throw Me in the Briar Patch, but I love Princess and the Frog, so if it's going to be New Orleans themed, I'm all for it. Jazz music playing, I'm all for it.
You're gonna miss that gopher yelling FSU. I mean, I know you, Mike. It's okay. Nick,
are we counting Catapult Falls as a credit? What do we think?
I don't think so, but I
agree.
I think it's more of a flume ride, and it's we need to go into the is this a credit? Is the tram at Epcot is that a credit?
I think we need. Can we bookmark? We need a podcast of "Is this a credit?" Because there's a few in the community I think that have some debate going on, and I think we need a full episode.
Okay, I mean, so where do we draw the line? So is Journey to Atlantis considered a coaster credit?
It's Dudley Do Right.
Yeah, I think so.
Dudley Do Right, no. Journey to Atlantis, yes. I don't know why. And the High in the Sky Seuss Trolley Ride, is that a powered coaster? I don't know.
I think it is. Not a credit, but it's a powered coaster.
Okay.
I mean,
Shane, we'll put that one down. I'm
okay. Let's save that, please. I have a lot to say.
Oh, jeez, terrifying when Shane says he has a lot to say, and then
okay. At first, Navi River Journey episode, and then,
oh god,
and then that one.
Oh god. Oh, anyway, all right. So we're gonna do a real quick rundown of the things we're most excited for. I'm gonna start because I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of time to think. All the things we've talked about, some things we haven't talked about. For 2024, what are you most excited for? And I've got two things we didn't talk about. First of all, I found out today that the spinning SBF Visa coaster at Frankie's Fun Park in Raleigh, North Carolina is open, is operational. So I'm excited that North Carolina has another credit, and I'm going to be in the Triangle in 2 weeks. So my first ride of 2024 is going to be an SBF spinner, and that's the way I like it. I'm
Classic.
also, and not a new coaster credit, but I'm really excited for the work that Premier Rides is doing on Loch Ness Monster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. Again, not a new credit, but it's going to be kind of a reimagined coaster. And anytime you can kind of extend the life of a classic like Loch Ness Monster, really excited for what Premier is doing at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. But if I have to pick one coaster on this list that I'm most excited for, I got to go with Iron Menace. And that's because I feel like Dorney it's a reasonable drive for me. I could probably get there on a weekend if I had to. Um, and it's a like Shane was talking about earlier. It's a park that's got so much character. It's definitely not the biggest and baddest Cedar Fair park, but with the kind of addition of this B&M dive coaster, I think it definitely transforms Dorney, and I'm hoping I don't have to wait another 15, 20 years for their next coaster credit, because I think that's a park that deserves some love, and I'm excited to give it some love this year in 2024. But I'll go over to Shane. What are you most excited for in 2024?
Uh, well, okay. I mean, I think the obvious answer, if it opens, Falcon's Flight. I think, just obvious for every single obvious reason. But also, I think Top Thrill 2. Super excited. If I'm really hoping I can finally get to Cedar Point this year, and Top Thrill 2 is definitely going to be a big reason why I would make that first trip. And then, like I said, the international coasters. Of those, I would say probably Voltron. Um, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Hyperia, I think it's kind of a newer kind of concept. Weirdly, it reminds me a little bit of Steel Curtain in the way that it's sort of laid out and built. Um, and I'm curious about what that's going to look like. And then, of course, Donkey Kong. Absolutely cannot wait to see a full POV of that.
Gonna be great. Nick, your coaster that you're most excited for in 2024?
Personally, it's got to be the three that I'm most likely to ride, which would be Top Thrill 2, and then followed by the two family Vacomas at Kings Island and Holiday World. But also, there's one we hadn't talked about yet, which is Lightning Rod at Dollywood. They're
Oh, yeah.
changing the launch to a high-speed lift. So I'm definitely, if that can improve the reliability and the uptime of that ride, that's going to be huge for Dollywood. So definitely excited to see how that turns out.
See, that's how much has happened. I had completely forgotten about Dollywood transforming that, and I'm sure they're, working through the winter on that as well. But Mike, close us out. What are you most excited for 2024?
I would actually have to echo Nick. Top Thrill 2, just that spike element. It's one of my favorite elements. Those what do they call it? Impulse coasters, like
Mm-hmm.
Possessed at
Yeah.
Dorney Park. The vertical spike going backwards and that air time right there, for it to be 400 feet high of getting that going 100 miles an hour backwards. Like, I mean, you get kind of that on Superman, Escape from Krypton when they had the ride going reverse, but I think this is going to top them all as far as one of my most favorite moments on a roller coaster. So I'm really excited for that. And then, of
Love it.
course, the two family coasters we have here in Central Florida, because I know my son's going to be excited. And just to have that, mid-level family coaster step above Grover, but below the big B&Ms we have down here. So it'll be good for the families and just roller coaster enthusiasts in general growing up here and up and coming. Besides having Legoland, to have more coasters for them to talk about. I'm excited for those.
Awesome. Well, I want to. We did ask our following on social media what they were excited for. Gonna give just a quick shout outs here. We've got our buddy Don from the Attractions Group podcast, Parker with Adventures with Parker, and Tyler from Wonderland Weekly. They all had the same thought. Good gravy. I want to echo what Tyler said. Good gravy actually caused his siblings to look into Holiday World for the first time, and now they want to visit. He also gives an honorable mention to Iron Menace because it looks nonstop fun thanks to the lack of a mid-course break run. T on Twitter he's most excited for the Georgia Surfer. And then Michael on Twitter, actually, he mentioned one that we did not highlight tonight, which is Midnight Flyer at Santa's Village, I believe, up in the Northeast, which is
yeah.
another family coaster that is opening in 2024. Very excited there. So, Michael, thank you for bringing that to our attention. And then over on Facebook, Bill is excited for Flash Vertical Velocity. He says, I know this will get me killed. It will be a capacity nightmare, but I think it will be a great addition to my home park. JJ on Facebook says, I'm on the Penguin Trek hype train. The more I learn about this upcoming attraction, the more I'm intrigued to see the possibility of future family B&M models could look like. And then last but not least, we have Michael, who we touched on earlier, in all caps. I'm going to read Michael's message. And this is the emphasis that I would like to bring and the energy I would like to bring all of 2024 on this podcast. Again, all caps. Iron Menace FFS, which means for blank sake. Dorney finally gets a brand new coaster since 2005. Parentheses, Stinger doesn't count. And you won't cover it, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. Michael, we're covering it.
We covered it.
We covered it. I said it's my most anticipated coaster for 2024.
We have a podcast about it.
We do. Go back and check out the archives. It's not that far back in the archives. That's the beauty of taking most of the fall and winter off. So it's there. The episode is titled Iron Menace to Society because that was funny at the time for me. So, I'm, again, very excited. I'm excited to try and take some coaster trips in 2024. I'm excited to finally ride the long-awaited spinning coaster at Frankie's in Raleigh, and that's how this year is going to start. And, again, we're just going to continue to bring the energy. Before I wrap this up, Nick, Mike, Shane, any final thoughts?
Not necessarily. Industry's looking great. I think this is the first year it's like, okay, we're back.
Yes. It's taken several years post-COVID. I was looking at I saw a meme on Twitter or Facebook or something. It was like the blinking guy meme, and it was like 2019, and then he blinked, and now it's 2023. And that's kind of how real life feels, but I feel like the industry as a whole, with the addition of, major coasters like Iron Menace and Top Thrill 2 and Voltron and Hyperia and some family coasters across the board. Again, industry's looking bright. Coasters are looking bright. There's new credits abound. It's just going to be an exciting year, and we hope you will join us for the ride. That was a terribly forced pun, but you know what? On the Coaster101 podcast, that's how we do it. But if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you're also following us on all forms of social media. We are at Coaster101 anywhere you can consume the platform. That's Facebook, Instagram, whatever Twitter's calling itself these days, YouTube, TikTok. I mean, we're starting to get active on TikTok again, and it's not even Shane driving the ship. So it's they've let the millennials take over the TikTok, and it's bad news for everybody. We also have a website, Coaster101.com. Earlier today, we dropped the list that will be updated of opening dates for parks around the United States and North America. So stay tuned to that. We will stay on top of that as best we can. Also, if you're listening, make sure you're liking, rating, reviewing, subscribing, all of those buzzwords that help people find this show. Again, it is a 2024 resolution of ours. Mike's going to be on the podcast more. I'm going to produce more episodes. We're going to have some great interviews coming up on the pipeline here. But yeah, tell people about this podcast and tell us, what you like, what you don't like. We're all ears. I mean, we're just trying to have fun with this, just like everybody else. But we love those 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We also have a merch shop at c101.co/tpublic. There are going to be some new designs in the new year, but get your favorite Coaster 101 themed merch and coaster themed merch. We are still donating 25% of the proceeds to that to Give Kids the World. So we actually raised $2,000 for Give Kids the World through the sales of our calendar. Really excited about that as well. And last but not least, a huge shout out, as always, to Justin Mabry of JM JMMD Entertainment. They've changed the name of the company, but he is the one who is responsible for our theme music and also shows at parks around the country that I'm sure we will see some new ones and some returning ones in 2024. So go check them out as well. But Nick, Mike, Shane, guys, thanks for hopping on and recording a podcast with me as we start 2024 off right. And we will talk to you all again soon. See ya.